And we are now live. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another sharing edition of LinkedIn Local Philippines Metro South. So, once more, in a few minutes, we are about to begin. Our topic this evening is how podcasting can build and/or strengthen your confidence. Okay, so if you think podcasting can really build your confidence, or if you think this live stream or our tonight's session is beneficial to someone you know, please invite them to join us. So once more, in a few minutes, about to begin how podcasting can build and/or strengthen your confidence. Okay, so once more, Sir Mario, yep, you have touched so many lives. Definitely, yep, you are very much the missed. So once more, condolences and prayers to the family of Sir Mario Norbe. Okay, yep. Joining me this evening before we begin. Yep, please also connect with her in LinkedIn. I'd like to add Robeline Rico. Okay. Hi, Robbie.
Hello, Sir Dorma. Good evening po and good evening sa lahat ng nanonood.
Ayan. So, I think konting lakas ata ng ano mo. Turn up that mic's gain a bit
Okay,
up.
sir. Okay,
Ayan.
sir po.
Okay, yan. Ikaw, Robbie, are you a podcast listener as well?
Sir, bali, kanina ko lang siya na panood yung nakinig sa mga vlog ng ating guest ngayon. So, first time, sir, first time.
Wala kang mga pinapakinggang ano, hindi ka avid listener ng podcast.
First time, sir, first time.
Okay. Ayan, and siguro to add, I'm going to add Danica to invite everyone to our communities. So once more, this is LinkedIn Local Metro South. So yep, turning the online relationship into offline. So yep, basically, our mission po is to be a blessing to everyone, most especially in these times of pandemic. I'm sure a lot of our countrymen are experiencing hard times, and we hope by this our guests and this format can be a sort of blessing to everyone to help out. Yeah, possibly give our countrymen financial freedom. Ayan, so isa po yan sa ating mission. Okay, and we're hoping with podcasting, I think there are ano no, there are opportunities uh, sa podcasting. May it be you're a virtual assistant to a podcaster, or you yourself will be a podcast host. Yan. And yeah, to before we begin, I'd like to add Danica Chanchikov to invite everyone to our communities. Danica, hello, good evening. I think your mic is muted.
Hello, good evening everyone. Good evening po, sir.
Ayan, so can you share to us, share your screen, ano yung what's our, can you invite them to our communities?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna add your screen na.
Yes, sir. Are you ready? So I'm now inviting you to like and join our LinkedIn local and Adobe community on our Facebook, Adobe Photoshop, and digital creatives.
Okay. Ikaw, how about you, Danica? Are you a podcast listener as well?
Yes, sir. I'm a podcast listener po. Sa Spotify, sir.
Paano ba yan? Is it, what do you call that? Are they like, for example, YouTube, they call it channel. How about in podcast? What do they call yung mga ano sa podcast? Mga episodes ba yan? Ano tawag dyan, Danica?
Yes po. Tawag po sa kanila episodes po, per episodes po. Yung mga ano po nila, posts po nila. And mostly po, ang pinakikinggan ko po yung mga nakakaantok, like Sleeping Pill with Inka po.
Ah, sige.
Yan.
We will,
Follow ko po siya.
ayan, tatry namin ni, ni Robby yan. Pampaantok. Pwede ba yan, ano? Pampaantok ng mga chikiting, ng mga anak?
Pwede, sir.
Oh, pwede ba? Okay. Yep. So, once more, our guest is Miss Kristel Saudi. Yep, she's a passionate designer. So, yep, I'd like to welcome her this evening. Once more, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Kristel Saudi. Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Hi, ladies and Joe Mark. Good evening to everybody who's listening, who's tuning in. Thank you for this and thank you for having me.
Ayan. So, yep. Curious to know, no? Siguro, yan. Lagi naman tanong, no? When did you started doing podcast?
Podcasting started last year. So we were all, preoccupied because, well, not preoccupied because we were not doing anything. We weren't going out, right? It started in Feb when we had the lockdown here in the Philippines, and everybody started to just sort of jump into one master class to another master
Mm-mm.
class. And then I stumbled into podcasting because I've been trying a lot, and I realized that ito na, this is like the last step because I really am an introvert in nature. I'm not the type who would have like small talk and everything to a new person, especially if I meet her or him for the first time. But being a leader in the office, I realized that you have to step up and really, put yourself out there because you are the face of your team, you are the face of your
Yeah.
organization as a leader, right? So you really have to like practice speaking, embody, because if you're not going to speak, then your teammates or those you are leading will also not speak kasi you are the example for them. So that's when I jumped into podcasting and I got committed. I realized it's a commitment, right? And I
Yeah.
enjoyed it because I developed also the confidence that I have now. Not just in podcasting, but also with talking to other people. Yun.
Ayan. Curious to know daw, where do you live? Where are you
I
based?
Yes, I want to clarify this kasi my last name is Saudi, right?
Oo.
And a lot of people they think na, oh, Kristel, are you based in Saudi Arabia? Are you working there? To be honest po, I'm not in Saudi Arabia. I'm based in Manila, Philippines. It just so happened that I married a person whose last name is Saudi. So there, my last name is Saudi, pero like the country, that's how you pronounce it, Saudi Arabia, Saudi.
Yep. How about kids? Do you have kids like me and Robbie?
I do have a very makulit 5-year-old kid, which we started also her YouTube channel last year because we were all locked in at home, right? Ayon. And she loves it. She loves doing videos. Right now we're trying to stream games naman. Like Roblox and Minecraft. Yun yung mga gusto niyang laruin ngayon.
How about you, Robbie? Do you have kids? Ano pala? Ano yung, how many kids do you have pala?
I have two kids, sir. Ang eldest ko po is 17, magsi-17 this year, and yung youngest ko is 15, magsi-15.
Ako naman, mine, I have a 13 and 7.
Wow.
Mm-mm. So, yep, Miss Cristel, ano pala? are you a psychologist initially during your undergrad? What's your undergrad pala?
I'm an economist. I
Ah.
graduated uh, with a degree of BS Economics, major in development, which is I wanted to be a lawyer, pero I landed in a bank. So ever since I started working, I worked for banks. And
Ah.
yon, hanggang ngayon, I'm still working with a bank.
Pero I think there's still time, 'di ba, to take up law. Actually, I'm interested din sana eh. I've heard I
Well,
have
that was
friends. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
that was before, but again, I realized no, over the past couple of decades since I graduated from college, your purpose is different from every stage of your life. So I
Yeah.
guess yeah, hindi na yung pagiging lawyer ang ano ko, ang purpose ko right now. It's really to be an example to my kid and to be able to help her become a contributing individual when she grows up. Yun ang priority ko.
Oo. Ikaw, Miss Robbie, do you have any questions to Miss Cristel before we proceed?
Okay, okay na. Nabasa ko po dun sa about nyo sa may LinkedIn. And you said that you used to be a shy person before. Uh, before you, yung podcasting, how do you overcome your fear to speak?
Ah, that's a very nice question. I'm a performer by nature, pero I'm
Wow.
not into public speaking. So in college, I was a folk dancer for
Mm.
4 years. Yeah. So if you see some of my posts, I have pictures with pots on top of my head or a glass on top of my head, and then kasi we dance folk. We dance folk dance. So that's what I did. I was busy dancing when I was in college. Pero in terms of speaking, um, it really varies, no? But one important lesson that I've learned is you really just have to try, even if you are not comfortable. You just have to go for it. Kahit na nauutal ka, kahit na you get mind blocked kasi 'di ba, sometimes you have a lot of things in your mind that you want to say, to speak about, but then when you're in front of that person already, parang nawala lahat yung prepare mo, right? So ang importante lang, just try to talk about something and then it will flow. Also, what I learned is you have to breathe. Importante ang huminga kasi sometimes we forget. We tend to like focus on that message that we want to convey to others, to the person that we are talking to, and then we forget to breathe. So sometimes we hyperventilate tapos hindi na tayo makapagsalita. So those are the two lessons. You just have to go for it. Kahit na nautal ka at the first instance na you spoke, magtutuloy-tuloy rin yon. And also, be mindful that if you don't speak, no one will hear you, right? Kapag hindi
Yeah,
ka
yeah.
nagsalita, walang makikinig sa'yo. And that question that you wanted to ask will remain a question if you don't ask. So those are the things that I learned over the past couple of years.
Ayan. So, yep, actually, Miss Cristel has a few slides to share to us. So, once more, we are encouraging everyone to participate by asking questions. So later we'll be having a Q&A portion. And yes, to our attendees this evening, to our participants, we will be releasing a certificate for those who are with us tonight. Okay, so I think registration form is now open. So yep, if you would like to receive a certificate for tonight's session, yeah, please open up the form and fill that out. Yep. Also, we will be raffling away 3 months career. We will be giving away 3 months career premium LinkedIn career premium subscription and LinkedIn learning subscription to our lucky registrants. Okay, so I'll be adding I'll be adding the yep. We're seeing now your slides, Miss Kristel. So without further ado, yes, please prepare your questions. We have a Q&A portion in the later in the later portion of our live stream. Ayan. So yep, take it away, Miss Kristel.
Thank you, John Mark. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak to people. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you, ladies, for this opportunity because, like you, I want to give back by helping people, be informed of how can they actually grow and develop their themselves, not just their confidence, but basically how they can grow as an individual. And this is through podcasting, which is what I also learned. So today we will be talking about podcast and how it has evolved and why personally it is my recommended platform if you are planning to start out your content. And as much as possible, I really encourage everyone to please participate. Comment in the comment section, leave your comments there. Because it's not just a conversation with me or Danny or Robbie, right? It's all
Yep.
about being able to
Sharing
help you.
thoughts.
So if,
Yep.
yeah, sharing thoughts. If you don't ask questions, again, that's what I've mentioned a while ago. If you don't ask questions, your questions will remain questions. You won't know the answers, right? So, yeah, so let's start. What is podcasting? So, this is our main topic. Jomark, are we able to see who are commenting? You will be flashing naman if there are people who are listening, right? Or tuning in. Oh, Jomark, I think you're on mute.
Yep. I think on your upper right, there's a tab there, comments and
Oh,
private
yes.
chat.
Okay.
So if you click on the comments, you'll see everyone's comment. But I think for now, everyone is greeting you.
Good evening.
Good
Yes.
evening.
Hi, everybody. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. So, again, our topic is podcasting, and I want to start with a question. Question kaagad, start pa lang. I want to know who knows what a podcast is. Kasi kanina, I think it was Robbie or Danny who didn't know about podcast. And I want to know who from our audience knows what a podcast is. And if you know what a podcast is, please type in podcast in the comments so we know. Okay? Type in podcast.
Ayan.
All right.
Just to add, Miss Cristel, there's a 20-second sort of delay ha.
Ayun
So,
pala.
ganun katagal. So, hindi na natin sila masyadong maaantay.
Sige.
Pero we will go
Sige,
back
hindi
to
na.
their ano. Oo.
All right. Okay. Oh, okay. Sige, si Kenneth
But
said podcast tip. Okay.
yeah.
All right, let's proceed. Okay. So, we will proceed with explaining what a podcast is, just so for anyone who is not aware what a podcast is. And my request is to those who know what a podcast is, and if you know what our topic is about, I encourage you to have an open mind because this might be a topic that you've already seen on any YouTube video. But if you have any questions that are not being answered in the YouTube videos, please do feel free to raise them later.
Yeah.
Okay. Yan. So what is a podcast? Let's go back, okay, to how podcasts started. Who knows what this image is? It's an iPod, and I don't know
Yeah.
if we still have people who are using an iPod. I don't know if Joe Mark or Danny or Roby owned an iPod before, but I did. So napaghahalata yung edad natin. And
Ako
this is
ako Miss Cristel,
yes,
I've never owned an iPad on the yung ano ba, Walkman, CD yun lang.
Walkman, CD player.
Walkman
Okay.
lang po, ma'am.
Yung CD talagang ano yan, mas alam natin kung anong edad natin. Alam ko rin yung,
Mm.
wala akong CD player noon, Jo Mark. Alright.
College
So,
college na ata ma'am yung yung parang iPad, eh. I was busy with,
yes.
music. Music as in musical instruments.
Music musical instruments. Oh wow. Okay, wow. Magkakasundo tayo because I also play music. But okay, so let's go back. Where did the word podcast come from? So iPod, right? iPod is like a thing that was invented by Apple, and it was a device where we can listen to music, and they started broadcasting recorded content or recorded audio content, and when they started to broadcast it, they termed it as iPod podcast, because they merged the words iPod plus broadcast, which resulted to the word podcast. Back in the day, it was also around early 2000s ito. So, it was also called audio blogging. Also because blogging, if you remember, that was the time when we had the golden age for blogging. So, yun nag-start yung mga bloggers natin, like the written content, written form of content. So, that's where we got the term podcast. Okay? Now, for definition purposes, what is a podcast? So let's read it. A podcast is an audio program, but you subscribe to it on your smartphone and listen to it whenever you like. So you can subscribe to a podcast episode or to a podcast program by going to different applications, which is like Spotify. I think everyone is familiar with Spotify, or
Yeah.
Apple Podcast if you are an iOS owner. And there are other platforms as well. In other countries, they have Stitcher, or in India, I think they have Ghana. There are lots of other local platforms for music and for podcasts. So, this is how you go and search. So, this is a a screenshot of my phone, but I think it's not playing. Not sure why. Anyways, so you go to Spotify or to these other applications, right? These are podcasts, and then you can search for the um, podcast host's name. You can do that. So if it's Kristel Saudi, you can go to Spotify, which is here, and then you can search for Kristel Saudi or the name of my podcast, which is the Passion Design Hub, and then you will see the episodes there. So that's how you listen to a podcast episode. And then you click on play. You can just, search for the episode that resonates with you, and then you can click on play, just like any music file there on Spotify. Okay, so now at this point, I want to know what those in the audience prefer in terms of consumption, or maybe we can start with Jomark or with
Yeah, yeah.
Robbie and with Danny. So if you are the end recipient of the content, ano yung go-to ninyo? Is it a video? Is it audio? Or is it a blog? Diba? Kasi we have different types of learning styles. Like, is it mas conducive ba sa akin for video, or is it for audio ba ako? Nakikinig lang ako? Or I'd rather read? Which one do you prefer, guys?
I prefer listening, ma'am.
Ah,
Ako,
listening.
ako po din listening and reading. More on listening and reading.
Listening and
Ako.
reading. How about you, Sir Mark?
Yep, me I prefer watching videos, ayan. So, yep,
Mm, great,
will
great.
will
Thank
will
you.
discover podcasting through you.
Thank you. Okay, so I asked you guys, and I also want to encourage the audience no to comment and leave your comments. Ano yung gusto ninyo? What is your preferred content? Is it video? Is it audio? Or is it written format or blogging? Okay, and later on, we will check kung ano yung answers ninyo, and we will try to find out why. Okay, so we have different social media platforms, as you know, and different type of content platforms. So again, I mentioned video, and again, I second with Jomark. As a content consumer, I actually prefer video because video is still king. 'Di ba? It's both audio and it's both blog written form na rin
Yeah.
because minsan may mga nakasulat doon, 'di ba, na very helpful lalo na kapag hindi mo masyadong maintindihan, for example, or if the content of the video is in other language. But then again, videos are also meant to be watched, meaning your content or the video that you are watching should be engaging. Lalo na ngayon in our modern time and in this day and age, 'di ba, our attention span is very,
Yeah.
very small na kasi we tend to like scroll talaga and look for something that resonates. Parang wala pa nga 1 second yung isang ano eh, 'di ba? Yung isang content and then you can just scroll. So, when when creating content, your video has to be really enticing, really engaging for the person who is consuming to stay in that video, which is why we have the short form of videos na, the TikToks, right? The TikTok videos, ang daming nag-TikTok when we started the pandemic last year or the lockdown last year. And Instagram also came up with their version of Reels, di ba? Wala pa siya sa Pilipinas, pero if you are following influencers in other countries, it's similar to TikTok, pero of course it's with Instagram, so they call it Reels, Reels. And now we have also growing applications like local, yung mga Laika, yung mga Kumu, right, where we engage with a lot of people there. And also this was mainly used, I think, by businesses who are promoting their very own products. They often go lives and people are really engaging because they promote like cash prizes also you earn. So maganda yung form of content na ganon. So parang it replaced yung mga, parang siyang TV style na you can definitely engage with an influencer or an artist or a local artist over those applications. Now, there is also a growing social media application platform which is intended for audio interaction only. I don't know if people have heard about Clubhouse here in the Philippines, because Clubhouse is only for iOS users muna. They are currently in their beta testing phase. So this is a by invite application. So if you are an iPhone user, another iPhone user can actually invite you to have to be part of that application. And also we have Twitter Spaces. So dalawa yung meron tayong nagte-trend na audio interaction ngayon. And this makes us think, is there really a future for audio content? 'Di ba? Kasi meron na tayong social media application for audio.
Yeah.
Why not take a look at podcast, which is our audio content? Okay? Now, we have a lot of reasons. I gathered a lot of reasons why we should choose podcasting for creating content. And let's start with statistics. It's always very it's always very interesting to look at statistics. But we don't have a statistics right now in the Philippines. Parang yung studies is usually in the US and some other Asian countries. So podcasting is actually very new to the Philippines. So let's move to this. So there's a growing popularity with podcasting. So there's a research conducted by Edison Research where the number of Americans listening to a podcast each week has grown 120% over the past 4 years. And hulaan ninyo, how many million Americans listen to a podcast every month? If you can take a guess.
Americans only, ha?
Americans pa lang.
3 million
I think 1
monthly,
million, ma'am.
Very cold yung hula natin. Taasan natin ng konti.
5 million listeners.
Cold pa rin. Sige, I'll mention na. There are 90 million Americans listening to a podcast every month, according to that study. So,
Pero population nila ma'am, ilan sila ngayon?
nako, wala ako ng data na yon. Joe Mark, hindi ako prepared
Alamin
doon.
natin.
But I got this from Buzzsprout, which is one of the hosting sites, and they featured these statistics on their website. So we can go back to that article that they featured in their website.
Again, Miss Cristel,
Right,
how many how many millions?
90 million Americans listen to a podcast every month.
Okay. So what I'm seeing, the current 2019, their population is around 328.2 million.
Oh,
That's
ayun.
huge nga. That's huge. Large. Yep.
Mm-mm. Very large. And then, as of, ito yung statistics natin for podcast awareness, no? So, when they conducted the study, or they conducted the survey, I guess, in 2006, only 22% of consumers knew what a podcast was. But in 2019, it grew to 64% of consumers who were already aware of what podcasting was. And as of 2020, podcast reach 68 million people weekly, and they estimate that by 2022, the podcast listening will grow to 132 million people in the United States alone. So, ang laki, di ba? Ang laki ng jump,
Yeah.
yung growth niya.
Mhm.
So, which is why at the early stages, early pa lang to, early stages, growing popularity pa lang si podcasting. And we see that there is a lot of future in podcasting. Now, let's take a look naman at other platforms versus podcasting. So, kanina, di ba, we mentioned blogs, we mentioned YouTube channels. So, according again to the Buzzsprout article, we have at least 600 million blogs and then 23 million YouTube channels, but only 800,000 podcasts in Apple Podcasts alone. Pero kahit na, if I take a look at these statistics or at this graph, um, isama pa natin
Mhm.
kunwari yung Spotify, 'di ba? Ang laki pa rin ng gap na kaya nating i-bridge if people will start into podcasting, 'di ba? So yung ratio niya, isang podcast, may 29 na YouTube channels, tapos may 107.50 vlogs. Remember, I kept on repeating yung golden age ng blogging in early 2000, and that's when they started. So no wonder after how many years, 2 decades, right? 2 decades of uh of vloggers, ganito siya. So no wonder in a few years mag-grow na rin yung podcast if people will start their own podcast and listening to their own podcast, to the podcast, sorry, of the other hosts. So yon. What can you say about this, guys?
Of
What can you say
course.
about the future?
Yep. Ako, from what I've heard, definitely from this alone, there's an opportunity with with podcaster, and ganyan naman talaga usually, 'di ba? The case is nagbe-benefit ng malaki yung mga nauna sa platform.
Yeah,
So same with what happened with YouTube, 'di ba? So yung mga I've been to YouTube matagal na din, dati din, but of course like you, I'm very shy. 'Di ba? Kung titingnan niyo din yung mga past videos ko, I sound like 'di ba? and happy to see, 'di ba, yung mga nagsimula ng maaga, they're reaping the benefits. So I think the opportunity is the same with podcasting, 'di ba?
that's right. That's right. So, para siyang investing, no? Kung sino yung mga nauna, nag-invest, and they buy low, mga ganon. They will reap kapag nag-gain yung investments nila. And same with any platform. You're right. Ang daming YouTubers na nagsulputan ngayon, especially when, again, during these trying times, no? Because people were bored, people were looking for something to do, and they saw the opportunity kasi they saw yung mga influencers ngayon, how they started. And it's also good. It's nice to see people na very, very famous now, and then when they go back, parang I think some people, some influencers reviewed their very first video, YouTube video, diba? And they would compare how they are now, and you would really see the difference. So that just means that, of course, there's always a learning curve for everything. So similar to podcasting, there is also, because again, we are not all of us are born speakers, right? And I also believe that speaking is a skill, and that is something that you can enhance and you can develop if you keep on doing it. It's just like any other skill. All right. So, again, let's proceed to the next one. Why podcasting? Okay. Convenience. Anong nakikita natin sa mga pictures? People are walking while they have their earphones or their headphones on. And that shows that podcasts, well, we can assume that people here on the pictures are listening to podcasts or music. But there are studies that when people are already tired of listening to music ng paulit-ulit, they tend to switch to podcast episodes that they want to listen to. And sometimes they would just search for a podcast topic. For example, ano ba yung madalas nating sinesearch? Kunwari, ako kasi babae ako, so I would search for self-care or productivity, ganon. Or how to take care of myself. So I would search for those keywords on Spotify or on Apple Podcast. And it's very easy because those keywords can be given to you. Episodes can be given to you when you search, just like Google. But of course, Google is different because again, Google is, I think, king in terms of optimization of your keywords, right? But these podcast hosts or podcast catchers can actually give you the content that you really want. So, kumbaga, intentional yung sa part ng person na makikinig. Okay? Just by searching for a keyword. Okay? And, okay, can we listen to podcasts in websites also? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. And we can also actually listen to podcasts on YouTube because there are people who also upload their whole podcast episode into YouTube, but that doesn't mean that this is a video podcast kasi may iba. So we have two types of podcasting. It's a podcast and a video podcast. So audio podcast and a video podcast. Um the reason why a lot of people upload their podcast episode to YouTube is because, again, you create your authority online. And, anyways, we will go again to another topic later as part of why we should do podcast. I just don't want to preempt it. So, let's move on to why we want to choose podcasting. Okay? Ito, gustong-gusto natin to. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything to listen to podcasts. You can just download the application and then you can access, download, and stream anytime, anywhere. And you can really get so much value from the content. Personally, as a content creator, I really put effort in making sure, no, that I give value to the people I serve. So whether it's for entertainment or for educational, you can get lots of value, and you can be entertained as well because not all podcasts are actually educational. Meron talagang entertainment, like some are into book reviews, some are into movie reviews, meron ding mga comedy podcasts, and kanina nga nabanggit ni, I think it was Robbie or Danny, si Inka, right? The sleeping pill. Tama ba? Sleeping pill, sorry, di ko maalala yung
Yes,
title
ma'am.
ng
Sleeping
show
pill with
niya.
Inca.
Ayun, Sleeping Pill with Inka. Patutulugin ka talaga niya. And mind you, the Inka really does get a lot of downloads for making people
Yes.
sleep.
She's one of
So
the
that's,
streamers po na pinapakinggan talaga po sa Spotify.
Mm.
yes, diba? So you can create any content talaga with audio. So you just really have to like check what you really want to bring out to the world, and what creates value, and what you're comfortable and happy to share. So Inka likes that. So yun, nag-boom yung kanyang sleeping pill. So it's really very famous. Even foreign podcasters, they really look up to Inka. She's mentioned a lot of times on Clubhouse whenever I listened. Like, how do you, kasi may mga questions doon. So, how do you like become very famous with podcasting and all? So, Inka's name always comes up. Okay. Now, ito, isa rin to sa mga favorite ko. And baka ito rin yung favorite ninyong reason kung bakit kayo nagka-consume ng podcast. To those who are
Yes.
on our listening to our live stream or watching, right? Multitask friendly, si ano, si podcast, right? So, I also do this personally. I listen to podcasts like this person at the left while I am folding clothes, and while I am doing the laundry, doing the dishes or washing the dishes, and also cleaning, diba? Because it's very convenient. You just plug it in your ears, or if you have a headphones, and then convenient siya in a sense that you still get the value while you are listening, kahit na may ginagawa ka. So multitasker ka. And also, if you're the type na if you're working on night shifts, or if you are working from home, or a freelancer doing night shifts catering to US clients, sometimes wala kang kausap, 'di ba? So, it's also good na may napapakinggan kang someone who is talking at the background. So, parang white noise mo na 'yon, kumbaga, 'di ba? So, that's one of the things that I really love also about podcasting. Okay. So far, what did we tackle? Ang dami na. So we tackled the growing popularity of podcasting, and then we compared podcast over other platforms. And again, it's convenient, it's free, and this one, it's multitask friendly. Now, next would be building relationships. Okay. Why do we think we build relationships in podcasting?
Ayan.
For me po, ma'am ha, para po yung listeners po natin, mapanatili po na nakikinig pa rin po sa atin. Kailangan po yung topic natin, ma-related po sa kanila. Personally po.
Yep. I
That's
think
right.
this applies, Miss Cristel, to YouTubers din, no? A subscriber number is doesn't mean great value talaga eh. Ang pinag-uusapan dun is your followers. Yung people na whenever you say something, 'di ba, they sort of obey. 'Di ba? Yun yung totoong subscriber mo, no, yung followers mo. That's the true essence of. So yun din yung isang challenge if you're into podcasting, if you're to YouTube, 'di ba? And that stems out of from, 'di ba? From relationships. Ayan. Shout out to Sir Jed Bautista, 'di ba?
Yes. Yes, sir. Totoo po yun. Also because yung mga listeners mo, or yung mga nanonood sa'yo, talagang they listen to you, and they really feel like, you are talking to them. And it's the same with podcasting. In fact, yung podcast, it's very, very personal because naka-plug talaga yung what's this, yung earphone mo or yung device mo. And at the same time, alam mo yung subconscious nakikinig sa'yo. Because even while you're doing something, tapos biglang, oops, may binanggit itong person na to. Tapos kailangan kong i-rewind because yung subconscious ko nakikinig. So it's like, talagang nafe-feel ng person na nakikinig sa'yo that it's really personal, that you are talking to them. So, that's the beauty of podcasting. And at the same time, imagine if you have a podcast, right? And you are, for example, applying for a job. Most most of the time our HR practitioners nagsa-stock na sila, 'di ba, sa mga social media platforms na meron tayo. And one of the things that could be an advantage if you have a podcast is they will check out your podcast if they see that you have mentioned on your social media platform na, oh, I'm the host of this and this podcast. And they will somehow get a feel of who you are, how you talk, what your thought process is, and kumbaga, you're giving them a gist of who you are as someone who could be a potential part of their company. So that's part of building relationships, right? So by putting out content, you are reaching out to one listener at a time, and in turn you are building a community of listeners. Okay, so this is like you really talking personally to the person, and I just think that that's brilliant because let's face it, no, not a lot of people have um listeners when they start out, and that's what I actually teach in my program. But it really takes time to reach out to people, and once you do have that traction already, people will just start listening to you. And it happens when people refer you or people recommend you that, you, this person has a very nice podcast, and maybe this person can help you too, just like he or she helped me. And that in a way is building relationships, not directly to your listener, but people who are listening to you and sharing it to the people who might who might benefit to that podcast episode as well. Okay, another favorite of mine. Alam niyo kung ano to? Naaabutan pa ba ni Danny or ni naabutan pa ba nila to? Danny or ni
Ayan.
Roby? Sir
Robbie,
Jomart, naabutan po.
can you share to us, Robbie, what we did last a few weeks ago about business cards? But I think I shared something to Danica and Robbie about business cards.
Yes po,
Um,
sir.
sige, ganito.
Get Robbie.
Yung business card po is nagre-represent po ng sarili mo yan, yung kung ano yung passion mo and kung ano yung ginagawa mo. So, that's represent business card mo.
Your thoughts, Danica.
In business cards, you're promoting your own self po.
Right.
Ayan.
So when I first had my business card, I was so happy because it shows na, oh, I'm really a part of the employment world. Kumbaga, it represents me, because your business card bears your name, right? Your name, your position in a company, the company you belong to, the address of your company, and your other personal details like your email and your mobile number, where your potential clients can reach you. And in fact, when we use business cards, when we give out business cards, kunwari you have a business card, paano ba? You have a business card. You present it like this in such a way that, the other person can see your name right away when you present it. Hindi mo siya ibibigay na, oh, here's my business card. But, that personal touch is you show them your name so that that person can recognize and read it, and then they would, shake your hands right after. At least that's how I did, or how I was taught with using business cards. Now with podcasting, especially now that we are gearing towards digital na tayo, um, we don't have much use of the business cards right now while we are all in lockdown. So, your podcast, if you do have a podcast, can be your digital business card. So, imagine if you reach out to someone on Zoom, and of course, you would want to have some talking points, right? Initially. And I say this to freelancers who are doing, business calls with different potential clients, there should be a talking point. And if you mention that you have a podcast, that just automatically gives you an authority of something, kahit na it's not related to the business, because that shows that you have the commitment and the consistency to put out content. So yon, so that's one of the things that we see we see as the future of podcasting. It can serve as your business card or your calling card. It's a digital business card. Okay. Now, I have two more points, which are two of my favorites actually. Let's go to repurposing content. I have been talking about recommending podcasting if you are starting out with content because of this very reason. Okay. As a content creator, right? And if you are working a 9 to 5 full time job, and if you're a very, very busy person, what do you think takes up more time? Is it creating video content or audio content?
Sa akin po ma'am, audio content. Kapag galing sa work, kasi pag kasi video, medyo agad ka na, hindi, pag gano'n, pag audio, more on thoughts lang yung ibibigay mo. So, makakapag-focus ka. Hindi ka gaya sa video na kailangan mo rin kasi maging presentable.
Yes. Isa yan sa beauty ng podcasting. How about, do you have any other thoughts or you want to add something? Okay,
For
if,
me, for
yes,
me,
yes,
ma'am,
please go.
audio po. Kasi mahirap siyang gawin kasi kailangan boses mo lang yung maririnig. No other than background noises, ganun po. Kung video naman po, take ka lang ng take, cut ng cut. Then, pag audio kasi kailangan tuloy-tuloy eh. Hindi ka pwede magkamali. Yun po.
Okay. Nice, nice. Ang ganda ng mga ano natin, ng mga thoughts natin. So yung isa gusto ng, tama ba yung pagkakaintindi ko? Yung isa gusto ng audio, yung isa mas gusto ang video kasi may cut-cut. Tama?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Sige. Si Sir Jed Bautista, yes. Mas madaling gawin daw ang audio, which I agree. Although, depende pa rin nga siya sa perspective ng tao. But only because I think, yung point mo kanina was, you think hindi pwedeng i-cut ang audio, which is not true. We can actually cut out audio, just like videos. So it's very similar to how we do it with with video. In fact, mas madali siyang gawin kasi you don't have to listen. You don't have to look to the video itself, like anong sequence na ba yung kailangan kong i-cut, 'di ba? So which is why babalik tayo dito sa point ko on repurposing content. So, as someone who is doing a 9 to 5 job, right now, ang kaya kong commit is audio content. But I know in the future, I can repurpose my content into video or into a blog or a written form of content. How do we do that? How do we do that? I'll share some. I haven't started my video yet, pero pag nagka-time ako siguro next year, pero yun pa lang yung yun pa lang yung kaya kong i-commit, which is audio. For audio content, there are applications that can actually convert your audio into content, written content. Nagta-transcribe yung application. So, um, dun pa lang, winner ka na because although hindi 100% yung transcription ng audio mo, again, you would still proofread naman anything that you would put out there, right? To make sure that it is readable and it is, free of any errors. Around 80 to 90% yung experience ko with transcription or with automatic audio transcription. And that alone can boost if you have a website. That alone can boost your like SEO. You can look at how it can increase your SEO, or you can also use it as a form of YouTube content by kunwari, I have interviews with guests, right? I can talk about what I learned in the episode. So, kunwari, I interviewed Sir Joe Mark. Kunwari about self-care kasi yun yung podcast ko. Eh. Sir Joe Mark, what is your thought about self-care? Ganyan. And then Sir Joe Mark, kunwari, says that self-care is very important. So, I can make a video and I can get snippets of my interview with Sir Joe Mark and create it into a more interesting content rather than just getting the video itself of our recording and putting it in video in YouTube. So no one's saying that you cannot put it out there ng raw. You can do that. But what I'm saying is you can repurpose it. So dun pa lang you can repurpose it into a written content, you can repurpose it into a video content, and then you can put it into your websites. Dun pa lang sa in terms of repurposing content as a content creator, makakasave ka na ng time. And again, depende pa rin nga sa priority mo, how can you make time? Kasi aminin natin, if we have content creators out there, mahirap gumawa ng content, right? It takes a lot of time and effort. And lalo na pag you are a perfectionist, you want your content to be sobrang wow, dapat grabe talaga yung content ko. It would take time for you to create one unless you've been doing it for years. If you have the experience to do it, then that's good, right? But if you are starting content and you have a job and you just want to put something out there that someone can relate to or something that can be your um, contribution to the world, then my suggestion is you can get into podcasting. Also, because a lot of people are not very confident in in creating videos, lalo na yung mga first time nagvi-video, medyo mahihain pa na, "Hi guys," 'di ba gano'n? Medyo it takes a lot of getting used to it, kumbaga, even with audio content. But it's easier, I guess, kasi you don't have to be conscious of how you look when you are creating audio rather than creating a video. So that's bring me to the topic of the last topic, which is building your confidence, which is actually yung ano nga yung main reason ko and what kept me going with podcasting. So now I want to ask you, what is confidence for you? What is self-confidence for you?
Confidence, ma'am, yung um, knowing your strength and kaya mong i-represent yung sarili mo anytime and anyhow.
Beautiful. Si Miss
Um,
Robbie or Danny.
Confident
Sorry, Robbie
lang,
pala.
it's believing yourself po. Kung anong kaya mong gawin. Yung tiwala ka sa sarili mo.
Yes, tiwala. Ang sabi nga ng ating Miss Universe, confidently beautiful with the heart, 'di ba? And that's very true. That's very applicable to a lot of scenarios, not just sa work, sa lahat ng bagay. Actually, even with families when you mentioned guys that you have kids, right? And I just wanted to share that we as parents have that responsibility to build the confidence of our kids because it really starts with them being young, yung training nagsisimula doon. I had to share this, no, because I grew up with, I think a lot of us really want to please our parents, right? And somehow that affects our confidence kasi syempre we want to have the approval of our parents or those elders na nakatatanda sa atin because that's how we show respect, right? That's how we were taught. And having self confidence doesn't mean naman that you cannot have respect at the same time. But what I'm saying is, we as parents, for example, I had this experience with my kid. Um, I always tell her, na-notice ko sa sarili ko that I always tell her na I'm so proud of you. My daughter's name is Sophia. I'm so proud of you, Sophia. You're so good, ganyan. And yes, that brings up the morale of the kid. But I realized that it also has to come from her. So I started talking to her and telling her, you know what, Soph, maybe you should say, or maybe actually ako ang nag-initiate na ng question na, aren't you proud of yourself? Or are you proud of yourself? Are you happy? And that's when we started with her singing something, parang she was singing like, I'm so so proud of myself, because nagbunga yung ano, yung months na trinay ko na wag ko palagi sasabihin na I'm proud of her, because I wanted to start with her. So self-confidence really starts with yourself. Yun, yung sabi nga na it starts with yourself, and really it's the ability or the belief that you can accomplish something. So sayang, no, I cannot see the comments right away kung anong tingin nila sa confidence. But sometimes even commenting on any live chat, people are shy to say na confident sila kasi baka sabihin ng iba, ang yabang ko, ang confident ko eh. Pero that's not, that doesn't necessarily mean na mayabang ka. It's just really acknowledging your strengths and your capabilities, that you can do it. You can do something about anything that you want to happen in your life. Okay. So, later on, I want to ask about ano yung common scenarios that we encounter yung low confidence levels. But I want you to hold that thought, okay? Let that simmer siguro, let that sink in. And let's start with why there are specific questions that we want to ask when we start with podcasting. And I wanted to start with the question of why, okay? So, like anything, right? Why do you want to do something? Okay. So, these are the questions that you might want to answer if you want to start podcasting. Why do you want to start a podcast? Is it a hobby? Is it to grow content? Diba? Or is it to build self confidence? So, usually, when I ask this to my mentees, I would give them like specific time. 1 minute, ganon. Pero not more than 2 minutes. Because I learned that as long as you put kumbaga, your brain into medyo nakaka-stress na time limit, mas binibigay niya yung totoong sagot rather than overthinking about it. Like, bakit nga ba? Bakit nga ba? 'Di ba? But if you have that set of time na medyo, you're stressed and you're conscious that I only given, kumbaga nga, minsan 30 seconds I give them, usually you give or you get the correct answer. So, to those who are tuning in right now, I want you to ask yourself, why do you want to start a podcast? And also, given na ha, it's already given that we want to earn money out of the podcast. So, money is an attainable goal kasi if you set a number to money, you can do it. You can be very very creative on how you can reach that goal. But if you reach that money or level of money, if you reach that specific goal, what's next, diba? What's next after you do that? So, are you really just doing it for the money? Kasi madaling bitawan kapag yun lang yung gagawin nating batayan. So, we want to make it really deep and really focus on the clarity of why you are doing it. Okay? So, that's the first question. Again, if your why is not clear enough, or if your why is clear enough, you will have the strength to move forward kasi when things get tough. Being a content creator is not easy. Okay? We make it look easy lang. Okay? We make it look easy because we love what we are doing and the rest of the other content creators. But really, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, which is why we would go to the next question, which is defining who do you want to reach. Okay? Now, ano ba tong who do you want to reach? So, while we want to be universal podcasters, like we want to be famous, we really have to build that specific or identify that specific niche. Sino yung mga taong siniserve natin? So, I would take my podcast as an example, right? Self care for women. So that's very specific. What is self care for women, and how did successful women turn their lives around to pursue their dreams? Yun yung listener avatar ko. Avatar is like the profile of the person or the listenership that you would want to reach. Okay? So who do you want to reach kapag nag-podcast ka? Okay, so there are lots of tips that I can share in terms of um, who you can, who you want to reach out to, and what topic do you want. Okay, what would your listeners want to? And usually, okay, we have the triangle of people would usually want to hear about tips on health, tips on, so there's the triangle, tips on health, tips on money, okay, money making machines and everything, and the triangle, so the third part of the triangle is your development, self development. So usually if you want to gain traction kaagad, you would want to focus on that, but then again, just check if that is in alignment to your why, to the answer to your why. Okay, so for any questions in this second question?
Yep. I just want to quote the comment of Sir Jed, no? Ayan. Ayan. Anyways. Yep.
Exactly. Yes, Sir Jed. Sir Jed, sorry. Correct. Simon Sinek is an inspiration. Know your why is very very important, and if we have listeners who haven't tuned in to Simon Sinek's message, he does lives also on on LinkedIn, I think, right? He has groups doing that for him, and also groups on Facebook, and also, yeah, I encourage you to really go because he really explains it. I wouldn't do justice in explaining this because he does this better, but really just go to his page, go to his profile. He has a lot of YouTube videos that you can tune into, and also people talking about knowing your why. Okay, all right. Now let's go to what will you talk about. So this is very important, no? This is where your commitment will come in. What will you talk about, and is it a solo or an interview type? Yung iba, right? Again, if you are a shy person, syempre it is very intimidating if you are going to have an interview with people who you don't know. But you have to think of it in a positive way that it will really develop your listening skills rin, not just your speaking skills, because when you interview people you really have to like listen to what they're saying and not just go to the questions that you have on the checklist and and one by one tanungin mo lang. So you have to be creative on how you will ask the questions to your guest. Or you can also actually do a partnership podcast. So you have two people on the podcast and you have one person you interview. So that if kumbaga parang you support each other on creating that episode, and at the same time may magkakaroon kayo ng talagang meaningful interaction, because of course your thoughts will not be the same with the thoughts of other people, which is your partner in the podcast, right? And another question would be, what will we use for recording and editing? So I just wanted to go back to one of the answers. I think it was Danny ba kanina na she mentioned na kapag audio, you cannot edit it. So, importante, you have to identify where will you edit your episode. And editing in such a way na um, you don't necessarily have to be an audio engineer to be able to edit a podcast. Okay, we have audio engineers like talagang pinakikinggan nila yung quality ng sound ng podcast mo. But as a beginner, you have to just make sure that you are recording in a very quiet place and in an area na hindi nagbabounce yung sound. Kasi kapag nag-record ka, kunwari sa isang kwarto tapos wala masyadong gamit, paano ba yung science ito? The sound will bounce to the walls and then eventually will be captured by your mic. So it's very important that you put like buffers that can absorb the noise. And that's why if you notice sa mga recording studio, right, like they have like some sort of eggshell foams sa mga walls nila, you can improvise that actually. So you just, in fact, according to a lot of podcasters, ang hack na maganda dyan is pumunta ka sa damitan, dun ka mag-record. Yun yung mga hacks na ginagawa ng mga startups na mga podcasters. Now, for recording, you can definitely record your audio using your cell phones, or there are hosting sites na you it allows you to just upload the recording right away. So if you really want to do a podcast and you are short on budget, you can definitely do that. Just go to a place na again, hindi matigas, or may mga buffers sa mga walls, like yun nga, or you can actually record under a blanket. Yun yung mga hacks, okay? So you can do that, but just make sure, of course, you are creating this for your listeners. um, Make sure na somehow your quality will be good, not necessarily perfect, okay? But you can do that later on if you really want to improve the sound quality. You can hire audio engineers to edit your podcast. Yon. Ayan. Any questions on this, guys? Okay, if none, let's proceed to the next. This is very important. Where are you going to host your show? Okay, this is one of the questions. What do you think? Do we upload it right away to Spotify, or to Apple Podcast, or to any other podcast catchers? Okay, silence is golden. Let me explain. So similar to hosting a website, when you launch your website or when you create your website, you also do that for your podcast. So you will need a hosting site to store your MP3s. So these on the screen are examples of hosting sites that are highly reviewed and highly recommended by podcasters. So they use these platforms, either of these. So ang medyo madami naman tayong pagpipilian, but again, it depends on your budget. But this one on the middle is Anchor, which has been recently acquired by Spotify. So this hosting site is free. So you don't have to pay anything. And again, ang hula natin, or ang prediction natin is, of course, if you are going to monetize if they will start monetizing in Spotify, baka, okay, baka unahin nila yung mga nasa Anchor hosting site as compared. But that's just, of course, a prediction by our other podcasters, foreign podcasters who have been in the podcasting industry already for so many years. Ayon. So that is the where will we host our show. So people ask, no, what do you suggest? Do you suggest hosting in a free hosting site or in a paid hosting site? So that's usually the questions. And again, it really is up to you. we go back to your why. Why are you, why are you creating a podcast? If you're creating it as a hobby, then I suggest that you go with the free, because it's just a hobby, right? You don't intend to monetize it in the future. But if you really are looking at monitoring the number of downloads, the number of followers. Actually, we don't see followers in podcasting. We see the downloads. So if you are looking at monitoring that in the future, then you might as well invest in these other paid platforms, because not only is it easy to upload it in um, other platforms, like, so we have Spotify and Apple Podcast as one of the well, the two of the very used podcast applications, but we have a lot where we can actually upload it. In fact, we can upload it in Google, right? And if you upload it in Amazon as well, it will automatically get uploaded to Audible, pero free. It's going to be free when you see it in Audible. So I think I saw a question there kung paano yung mga audiobooks, right? So your podcast can actually be uploaded in Audible as well, which is a platform for audiobooks, right? Yon. So next would be, okay, very, very important question. When are you going to launch your podcast? So checklists play a very big role in launching your podcast and in managing your podcast. So it's not just in during the launch, but it's also in the management of your podcasts. Now, I added here, are your first 5 episodes ready? First 5 episodes ready, because this is actually a buffer just to make sure that you have consistent, consistent content. If you decide to upload content every week, you have 5 extra episodes sa launch mo pa lang. So you don't, so you'll be working in advance to create your content, rather than, okay, I'll just create my first episode now and then I'll bahala na later, no? So that is actually um one of the things that could actually make your pod podcast launch, I won't say fail, but not consistent. Remember, what we want to do here is to build the trust of your listeners, right? So we want them to actually listen to you, like aabangan ka talaga nila, like a TV show, right? So ganon natin gustong i-excite yung mga listeners natin. So, as for the checklist, we have a lot of questions already a while ago, and all of those questions we can incorporate in one checklist and we can tick them off, okay, until we are able to complete them. And that's when we say that we are actually ready for the podcast. Now, so here we go. If you have the answers to all these questions, then it looks like you are ready to launch a podcast. So, to those who are tuning in, what do you think? Are you ready? Are you ready to launch your very, very own podcast? I want to know. How about Sir Joe Mark? Are you planning to launch your own podcast too?
Yes, we are. Yep.
Yes, abangan ko yan, sir.
But of course, yep, we will not, no, no, uh, jump in right away. So I think we're in the phase of trying to check it out if it will do service and we can reach more, we can help out more people. So that's the why for us. So definitely, I'm sure Robbie and Danica is very familiar with our mission. Yep. Yeah. Passion for education.
I love it. I really love people who are, who are passionate about education and helping other people too. And, you know, I'm doing this also like a side gig, right? Because I do have a 9 to 5, and it's really more of helping people to get better, and provide other platforms for them to realize how they can do that. Okay, so This brings me back to the question of building our confidence. I want to ask, um, let's go back to the answers, right? Are you confident? Do you think you are confident? And if you're not confident, why not? Right? So I think I mentioned a while ago na there are scenarios where we really feel that we are not very confident in something. And I am interested to know what are the scenarios where you feel that you are not that confident in what you are doing.
I'll answer yan with the scenario of sa anak ko na lang. Um, ang kabataan ngayon, di ba, nagdi-discover sila kung anong gusto nila, kung anong way ang gusto nilang puntahan. So, to help them building their confidence, as a mother, you need to support them. Um, ah, kung magkamali man sila, okay lang, at least they know, wag papagalitan. They know, they will know na meron pa rin silang mga bagay na pwedeng i-discover at saka hindi nila intimidate yung sarili nila na, nagkamali ako, ayoko na. So, to build their confidence, you need to support them.
Agree.
Thank you. How about ma'am?
I'm not confident in solving math problems in front of the class.
Si Sir Jomark baka matulungan ka sa ano, sa math problems. Hindi kita matutulungan.
Actually, I would like to share something with regards to math. Actually, when I was in high school, mahinang-mahina po ako sa math. I was more into music. The reason I took engineering was because I'm weak in math. Which means, definitely po parang ano lang eh, yung nasa sayo lang yun eh, kung iisipin mo na ano. So, kinda odd pero I'm a believer of ano eh, parang laban, laban, laban lagi. So, hindi po ako magaling sa math. Lahat ng teacher ko when I declared in college, I'll be taking up engineering. Naku, grabe yung iba, maka-react ma'am yun dati 'no, hindi ko makalimutan. Pero because of that, ano eh, it inspired me more na and I believe sa hirap lagi may long term na ginhawa. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Sir Jomark. No? I wanted to go back to what you mentioned na hindi ka magaling sa math, but you took up engineering. And that's actually the best way to face your fears, to face and to overcome your lack of self-confidence, is to go straight into the problem and develop that skill. So, like anything, self-confidence is also a skill, right? So, we if we keep on doing things that make us, not exposed to the very thing that we are afraid of, then that's the time na we will not also exercise and strengthen that skill. So back to mom's answer about hindi siya confident with, explaining sa tama ba sa board yung math problems, then you just keep doing it, because if you say that I can't, then you're just gonna stay there, right? But if you keep on doing it, and eventually you will learn the tools and the knowledge that is required in order to solve that math problem, then you will be able to solve that confidently eventually. It's also the same with, for example, if you are in your jobs, right? I always say this example, um, because it's a very nice example, especially to Asians, to us Filipinos, right? When we have meetings with international, let's just go back, rewind to pre-COVID days, right? We have a meeting in a meeting room, and foreign partners come and visit us, and people start saying, "How are you? What's your, do you have any questions for us?" And usually, the room is very quiet, right? May mag-aantay at mag-aantay ng someone who will raise their hand or speak. And that is really somehow Asian culture. But what I'm just trying to say is, if we don't start doing the very thing that we are afraid of, then we will just stay in one place. If you want a promotion, my question is, are you even asking your boss for a promotion, or are you just like a kid when you were a kid, waiting for that acknowledgement from your parent, waiting for your boss to say, "Oh, ready ka na, promote na kita." Is that how we do it? Right? But there is actually another way of moving forward, which is acknowledging your weaknesses and talk to your boss. These are actually what I need to work on. And can you help me? You start asking questions. Can you help me how I can further develop these skills? And so by doing that, your boss might actually expose you to different types of scenarios, like he or she will let you attend in a meeting by your own, diba? And that's where you are actually going to be required to ask questions and to jot down notes from the meeting host. And that's when you try to piece things together and start being comfortable with the uncomfortable, because self-confidence again is a skill, and you develop a skill by repeating it. Okay, so to those people who say that they are not confident, and especially in launching a podcast, okay, to those who say I can't, we already talked about the basics of podcasting, and knowing that you have all the tools, do you still feel that you can't? That's my question, right? To those who feel na, ay nako, baka hindi magaling yung English ko, baka hindi ako maintindihan. Usually ganun, pag Pinoy, right? Or baka ma-judge ako ng ibang tao with how I pronounce certain words. And really, you won't be able to pronounce it correctly until you start saying it all the time. Okay? So, to those who answered, I can't, if your answer is still, you can't, let me just remind you of what we actually do in podcasting as a whole process, as someone who is going to start a podcast. Okay? Aside from speaking, what do we do when we podcast? Okay? We do a lot of things. I pointed out a lot of things here. We innovate. We innovate because each time we create an episode, we let our brains, like our creative juices, work on how we will deliver our message. Okay? It's a form of innovation. And this is actually also going to help you if you are employed or if you have a 9 to 5, because that's what leaders or that's what bosses are looking for. They are continuously looking for innovation. How can you improve a process in your business? And it's also the same with freelancers. How can you innovate? How can you make it more creative? For example, you have an agency. How can you make people work and be more productive? We are also doing project management, right? So when we launch a podcast, we don't just jump into it and, okay, I'm going to launch a podcast now. Okay, what are the ano, it's easy to do that, but that's a a sure thing for you to fail if you don't prepare, right? If you plan, what do they say it? If you don't prepare to, if you don't plan, you prepare to fail. That's how they say it, right? And that's why we have checklists. We have playbooks to, kumbaga yung playbook is just a fancy word of your checklist. Like a checklist is, you know, you have a schedule, you tick it off, and that's also how you do it with project management. You work in a playbook. But of course, in the office or in large scale businesses, you are actually working on large scale projects. So this is kind of a project management skill that you develop in podcasting. You also do operations and research. So definitely you will research your customer or listenership avatar. Your operations part will be how you edit your podcast, how you schedule your podcast, how long will your episode be, how long will your intro be, and other things. So figuring out how to launch a podcast is operations itself. Then lastly, marketing. Of course, you will reach out to people, and marketing is actually a way of creating followers or listeners for your very own show. My myth, there's a myth in podcasting that they think that once we launch a podcast, it's a done deal. Like we have instant listeners right away. We will still do the marketing. We will still reach out to people. Why? Because we live in the same world. We don't just live by ourselves, right? And we are all unique, and we are created to be a community. And that's why my skills might be different from what Sir John Mark's skills are, and that's how we came up with this talk, right? He has a platform, and I have something to share, and which is why we have it now, and that is also a form of marketing. And so, to those who are saying na no, I can't launch a podcast, let me just remind you that you are doing these things aside from speaking, okay? And if your fear is speaking, speaking is a learnable skill, and so is confidence. Okay? It's also just like language. If you don't start using a language, or if for example you learn Japanese, how to speak Nihongo, or you learn how to speak Spanish, di ba? Naging in yung Spanish nung college ako. A lot of people were learning how to speak Spanish. And if you stop using Spanish or stop speaking Spanish, then you will probably forget a lot of words that you have actually took time to learn. So speaking is the same. If you don't use it, it will just go away because it's a skill. It will probably still be there, but it depends on how long you've been doing it. But if you stop talking, if you stopped talking to people, then there will be some point you will be probably going back to the basic. So may I just share that I was previously um hol- in holding different accounts in my current job, but I used to speak to a lot of foreigners. I still talk to foreigners, but probably that's how I learned how to manage and speak in English. But when I moved to Asia, I hear a lot of different languages, which is probably why I also got encouraged with speaking through a podcast, because I get to talk to different people. So I reach out to people who are foreigners on different platforms like Clubhouse, Instagram, and people I don't know, but really just pushing and moving forward so that I can give value to the listeners I have. So there you go. Speaking is a learnable skill, and so is confidence. And you just have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Because this the key to self-confidence, repeat, repetition, repetition, repetition. So I'll say it again. Repetition, repetition, repetition. You just really have to be consistent with what you want to achieve. Do the things that can get you to your goal, and just do it. Okay? So I'll end that with this one, with this image, right? The only way to be the only way for the unreachable to be reachable, for the unattainable to be attainable, for the impossible to be possible, for the unachievable to be achievable, is when you start saying you can. Okay? It really will start within yourself. So, with that, I open the floor for questions. Sir Joe Mark and ladies.
Ayan, so before we open up the floor for questions, short break lang muna tayo while we prepare for our raffle draw. Okay, so yep, spare us a few minutes. We'll do the raffle draw, and afterwards, the floor for opening, for asking questions, diba, will be open. So yep, highly encouraging everyone to please to participate by asking questions, and yes, please connect with everyone whom you are seeing right now together with us right now in LinkedIn. We're now going to proceed with questions. Ayan, buti na lang may slide si Miss Kristel ng questions. Wala kami na-prepare na ganyan. So, okay yan, ma'am. Okay, questions. So, probably, I think Robeline and Danica has prepared a short list of questions. Let me start with Danica.
So, hello, good evening, ma'am, again. My question is, um, balak niyo pong i-pursue tong podcasting as your career, as your major career?
That's a very Miss Universe question. Thank
Mm.
you. Okay. I do love my job. So I mentioned I have a 9 to 5, right? And a lot of people are asking me, are you going to pursue podcasting as a full-time job, a full-time career? And right now I'm really just in the phase of enjoying what I'm doing and really just trying to grow my content. And also I'm teaching people who are I'm currently teaching 3 people who want to launch their own podcast, and that is currently what I'm doing. But in terms of whether I would pursue it, maybe, who knows, right? We don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The plan is, yeah, we want to do that. If that happens, I'd be very, very happy because I know that I'll be somehow fulfilling my ikigai, or this one, helping people to be more confident and really speak up so that we can all be contributing citizens of the world. It may sound a little cheesy, but it's really true, no? That's what I want. But so far, I really love what I do right now because I'm a leader in my current job, and that's also equally fulfilling for me that I lead people and guide them if they want to get to move up to the next level. Then I'm just there to hold the space for them to grow and develop whatever skills they want to learn. But at the same time, I'm doing podcasting and teaching people. So it's really a choice of how much you can commit, how much time can you commit while doing your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm,
Yep, Miss Robbie.
I'm sure, ma'am, you are a very busy person, Ma'am Cristel. How do you manage your time as an educator and as a mom?
Oh.
Okay, I ask this question to my guests in my podcast. Like, how do you manage your time? How do you have time for self care, right? And I learned a lot from them, and I try to apply the things that I learned from them, and a lot of concepts like time blocking and really carving out time, being intentional with the things that you are doing. So you have to choose kung ano yung priorities mo. So for example, I don't have I am hands-on mom. I don't have someone who's taking care of my child. And so the other things like household chores can actually wait, and I would prioritize my time into the more productive things, which is, again, I'm fully committed to my job, which is I do that, like really focused on my job. And then after that, I would move to interviewing people after my work. So I'm currently working from home, and that's how I do it. In terms of energy management, I listen to my body. As a woman, we do have that monthly cycle, right? And so when I notice that I'm being sluggish and very low in energy, I really intentionally allot time to just not push myself too hard with podcasting or with interviewing people. So there's really one week of not doing anything aside from focusing on my job. And and so you will notice, if you do have the chance to listen to my podcast, I have 3 episodes a month, not four. We have 4 weeks in a month, right? So in 1 week in a month, I really intentionally rest and I listen to my body, because that's very, very important. So you prioritize yourself, and when you prioritize yourself, you regain the energy that you need, and you will be able to serve the people you love, which is number one for me is my family, and secondly, those who I teach and those who I serve, both in the office and both in my podcasting career.
Yeah. Any more questions? You, Danica, how about you?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay, Miss Robbie, ikaw.
Eto po, meron pong isa. Most challenging um, repurposing content yung ma'am sa ano na po, sa podcasting.
Sorry, Danica, can you repeat it, please?
Ang most challenging po na content or repurposing content niyo po on podcasting.
Most challenging content. Okay, so my content sa podcast ko is about self-care. So I can think of a challenging one, but
Or
basically I do
memorable?
memorable. Sige.
Oo.
Okay, ang memorable ko is of course when someone messaged me on Instagram wanting to be a guest, and she is not Filipino, and I don't know this person. And so although I am well versed with English, no, I can speak English, communicate in English, right? That was I'm not in terms of self confidence, I'm not immune to not having low self confidence. So I just had to like breathe a lot and had to be very honest with her that, at times I might stutter. And so I did apologize if I do. And I said, I just edit this out because we can totally do that in a podcast. I wanted to create a comfortable space between her and between her and me. And also we had to do it very late in the night because she was based in the US. So now that I have that experience, I have started to accept also and reach out to other people in other countries to talk and have them as guests in my podcast. But the very first time that I had an interview, I was of course very nervous. We still get that. Even people who are probably very tenured in podcasting still get very nervous. And even speakers, we still have the jitters as well. But you just really have to remember your why, which is, I want to create a valuable content for my listeners. And so I pushed through with it because that was a very good opportunity, right? To be able to reach people, not just in the Philippines, but, you know, reach people all over the world and get that content out.
Yeah. Siguro ako, my question for Miss Kristel naman is, who are you the one editing the audio, or do you have someone helping you out? And what's the software, or what tool do you use to edit the audio for your podcast?
Yes, I edited myself using GarageBand. So, you mentioned kanina dun sa free surprise, right? There's a course around GarageBand. And so, yeah, I do it myself. I'm a one-woman team as of now. If I do scale, I'll be looking out for people who could help me edit the video para bawas na, and I can focus on the content. So, yon.
Ayan, any recommendation for ano daw, ano pa ba yung mga essentials na equipment needed for podcasting, Ma'am Tel? Any recommendations for specific equipment, hardware?
Pinaka-importante syempre yung mic. ang pinaka-important sa podcasting is yung quality ng recording mo. While you can record on your phone, you have to do a lot of hacks, you have to do a lot of preparations in order to record a very good audio quality. But I really started with phone. So I have my own mic. Diba we have naman our headsets. That's how I started it. And then I tried different kinds of mics until I realized na I'm spending a lot of time editing out the noise when using mics which are not very kumbaga they serve the purpose of amplifying your voice, but in terms of background noise and yung mga static na noise, um, I would suggest if you have the budget, no, you can get a very nice mic. But if you are just starting out and you just want to try for yourself, your phone is still your best friend because it will serve as your recorder, and that's also where you would upload. Um, I also use a lot of in the beginning I use a lot of free applications on the web. Like if I want to create audiograms, I think I have not mentioned audiograms, right? There are a lot of audiogram applications that will produce the audiogram for you, like headliner, and I forgot the other one, but um, the script. So usually these applications give you free for the first probably 30 minutes or so, and then it will refresh and you will get to use that again the following month. So usually ganon. Maraming mga hacks that you can do actually with podcasting. And again, I mentioned GarageBand, which is a free application, and there are a lot of good applications out there. And I think I also used Audition, Adobe Audition, pero yung free version lang. And then I stuck with GarageBand because I am using it here in my laptop anyways. But I just tried that out because it was very helpful for me when I had to edit like noise, yung noise quality nung in-interview ko naman. So I had to figure that one out also. Ayun. And again, in terms of content, kung hindi man maganda yung ano, yung recording mo, again, content is king. You will hope that your listeners will really listen to you because your content is very, very valuable to them. And that depends on how you market the content. So yeah, those are just some of the tips actually that I can think of. And use a lot of free stuff, free stuff talaga. Especially when you are starting out because ang dami. So why not use them, right? Um, gawin mo lang kung ano yung mga kung kailangan mo mag-refresh you go back to you move on to another application to another free application, and then once it refreshes after a month then you can go back to it again. So diskarte lang tayo, diskarte sa mga applications na kailangan natin gawin or gamitin.
Ayan. Sir Jed has a question. What's the ideal length of a podcast episode?
Thank you, Sir Jed, for that question. It again depends on your topic. So kung napakaganda ng topic mo and you believe that that will give so much value to your listeners, it really doesn't matter kung gaano karami. Kasi kung ma-engage mo yung listener mo, they won't even, kumbaga, they won't even think of how long kaya yung episode na to. Pero kunwari, if nauso ngayon yung mga bite-size episodes, siguro yung mga nagsa-start, bite-size episodes, just like what Jim Quick does, di ba? Sobrang bite-size yung mga episodes niya. And I also initially started with that. Talagang, um, actually 30 minutes, medyo long na yun for an episode, no? Pero if you want a 15-minute episode like an educational podcast, then you can, I think, yung given that yung attention span ng mga tao is very short right now, I would suggest starting and then, hindi na mamamalayan ng mga listeners na unti-unting humahaba yung episodes natin in habang tumatagal.
Yes. So kahit ako, I agree, no? Content is king. And yes, consistency. Learned that from Miss Jeanette. Yep. Any more questions, Robbie or
Hmm.
Danica? Okay, so yep. Any how can we reach you, Miss Tel? Any links that you would like to share? Kahit ibagsak mo siya ma'am sa private chat, I'm going to share it to everyone. Your podcast links. How can we reach you?
So all my podcast episodes are uploaded in my website. It's www.kristelsaudi.com. And as for um, Apple Podcast or Spotify, I you can search for Kristel Saudi as I've mentioned, 'di ba? Mas madali 'yon if mas na tatandaan niyo yung last name ko, which is Saudi. Wala masyadong may apelyido ng Saudi, which is an advantage. And yeah, and mainly on my website, I'm very active on Instagram, LinkedIn, and also on Clubhouse. So I have been planning to create, rooms in Clubhouse, but again, that requires commitment. So if you are interested, and if you are on iOS, and soon I think they will be opening to ano na, to Android. But I still have 6 invitations pending on Clubhouse. So if you want an invitation, then please do message me here on LinkedIn. There.
Awesome. Ayan. Yep. So once more, triple W Saudi .com. Okay, so yep, before we end this live stream, so once more po, no, if you have an advocacy or message to share, ayan, no, advocacy or message to share that uh, will will have a positive impact, no, to everyone else. We are inviting you to be our next guest sharer, like Miss Kristel, for LinkedIn Local Philippines Metro South. So if you know someone or you yourself na makakabuti po, no, to everyone else, inviting you to be our next sharer. Ayan. Sharing is caring. So, yep. Shout out to Sir Jed. Kayo din po, no, if you have, if you would like to share anything, may it be with regards to AEC, Architecture, Engineering, and Construction. We have a community and audience for you. So, yep. So, yep. We are once more. We are open for guest sharers like Miss Cristel. Thank you so much. And may mga pahabol tayong questions. Thank you to Sir Dandin Rico. Ayan. Have you ever been embarrassed in podcasting, and how did you got back your composure?
Yes, thank you for this very, very beautiful question, Dandin Rico. I stutter a lot when I record, and again, I set the tone to the person I'm interviewing at the very beginning, and so I don't really mind if I stutter na during the interview. So sa umpisa pa lang, I set the tone and I really tell them na, I'm kind of nervous right now. As in, I really tell my which is probably why I we have if you listen to the podcast, there's really that level of parang comfortable yung mga guests ko because I set the tone, and I don't go straight to, to interviewing. We we connect a little bit muna. Syempre kumustahan and all, because if you go to I really want it to be very, very meaningful and be able to get my guests open up to me when I ask medyo uncomfortable questions, no, or something personal. And I also tell my guests na if ever I do ask questions na you're not comfortable to answer, do let me know lang. I can easily cut it out, or just edit it out. And it's also same to the guests that I have na they can comfortably tell me that, you know what, I have to like redo this. Can I do it again? And they say that without any hesitation because we set the tone at the very beginning. Pero no early stages of interviewing, I really stutter a lot because Amin na natin, 'di ba? English is not our first language. So it gets a lot of getting used to. It takes a lot of getting used to speaking in English. And once nag-start ka na naman, you get the hang of it. And in fact, actually parang mas madali personally it's personal kasi depende rin sa person. If you're talking to someone who is kumbaga, first language niya yung English, parang mas nasasway ka rin sa how they think and how you converse with them. Whereas, pag Filipino, for example, I have to like, um, convert, parang nagko-convert yung utak ko from Filipino to English. So, yun yung ano ko, yun yung naging embarrassing moment pero hindi naman masyado. So far, wala pa naman yung super embarrassing moment. I hope wala. Like super in the future.
Ayan. Siguro last question nata 'to 'no, from Sir Jed. Yeah, I think Sir Jed has ano 'no, tons of interest din 'no. So, his dilemma is, how do we choose the genre of our podcast if medyo marami kang interest? Ayan.
Ah, I think I'm still going to go back to the why, Sir Jed.
Oo.
Syempre, you have to establish kung sino talaga yung listenership mo, yung avatar mo. Kasi pwede kang iwan ng mga listeners mo kapag halo-halo po yung ano, yung content. Although, you can probably yung sinabi kong triangle kanina ng maraming listenership, no, yung money making, yung health and yung health and wellness and personal development. Dun sa tatlo, siguro kung yung tatlong yun yung interest mo, baka pwede mo silang i-connect, and if you're going to do an interview episode, maybe you can touch on those points. Usually yun yung mga gusto ng tao na pakinggan. Unless super niche down yung gusto mo na topic, magkakaroon ka rin naman ng followers or subscribers pero hindi siya gano'n karami. Pero maaasahan mo na kapag sobrang niche down yung ano mo, yung topic mo, loyal yung mga subscribers mo, talagang aabangan ka nila. Kasi napaka-special or kumbaga, nakakaiba yung ano, yung topic mo.
Ayan. Yep. Before we say goodbye, shout out to Sir Calvin Carapley. So I guess he will be our next sharer. So unlike Miss Kristel na podcasting, I think this will go down as a series of live stream, no? Because if you're planning to dive into VFX, like what we're seeing with Sir Calvin's page, so ayan ang ating topic in the following months. So if you're interested in a VFX animation, our next sharer will be Calvin Cropley, based from Australia. He'll be sharing how to create this, I don't know, awesome, ayan, no, awesome organic materials, sci-fi interiors, lightings, and everything else with regards to 3D pipeline in animation and VFX. So stay tuned for that. Upcom- Upcoming, no, coming this month. So yep, and to say goodbye, I'll be sharing this garage band podcasting uh course to all, or to all public kasi siya, no. Public na lang para marami mag-benefit. So this is you can access this for 24 hours, and the course is just 2 hours. So I hope this helps sa mga gustong mag-podcasting. Ayan, so I'm going to click now, share. So kung nakita nyo na sa timeline ko yon, kung connections ko kayo, lalabas yon. You can access that course, GarageBand podcasting, for free for 24 hours. So yan, I just shared to you a free course from LinkedIn Learning. Ayun lang. So once more, thank you for joining us, Robbie. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, Sir Domat. Thank you po, Ma'am.
Thank you, Danica.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am.
And hoping we have a repeat with Miss Kristel. Other topic or same topic, probably next year or in the near future, Miss Del. Thank you.
Sige, sir. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much and have a nice night.
Ayan. Okay. Bye, everyone. Happy Monday.